Puan Nor'afiza Saim, the CEO of IAM, and she will be sharing with us on the anti-corruption mechanism that is available to protect you and your company from falling under Section 17A. So we have.
Okay, thank you very much, Chuli. Um, hello again, and a very good morning or rather afternoon. It's almost 12 o'clock. Okay, I have to be very fast here because I have 46 slides. Okay, I have 46 slides, and I'm not sure whether I can finish it all within the 45 minutes allocated for me, but my presentation outline is I'm going to talk about NECP, the National Anti-Corruption Plan, the importance of assessing and managing risk. Okay, I'm going to focus about risk management here because when you talk about risk management, we are talking about prevention, okay, not something that has happened that we give it to SPRM to handle. But now, how can we protect ourselves? So how can we prevent corruption? So I'm going to talk about managing the risk of corruption based on ISO 37001. This is the internationally accepted standard on how to manage the risk of corruption. And then lastly, I will share with you the study that we have conducted, not only IIM, Mampu, SIRIM, and University Malaysia Pahang on the effectiveness of this anti-bribery management system, which is based on this ISO 37001. Okay, before that, um, mm, okay, uh, okay. Let's look at how much does corruption cost us. I think this is something that we cannot ignore because the amount is so huge. If you look at the first one in Malaysia, between 2005 until 2014, we have lost about 1.8 trillion. It's not million, it's not billion, it's trillion ringgit, okay, from illicit financial flow. And part of it, I would say the root cause of the problem of this illicit financial flow is corruption. And according to the World Economic Forum, global cost of corruption is about US dollar 2.6 trillion. US dollar 2.6 trillion multiplied by 4, you can calculate how much it is per year. And this is about 5% of the global gross domestic product. And for that 2.6 or 2 plus trillion dollar that we wasted a year on corruption, it could be used for better benefits, such as wiping out hunger. It only costs about 116 billion US dollar. To eradicate malaria, it only costs about 8.5 billion US over 7 years. Bridge the global infrastructure gap. We have problems of infrastructure all over the world. It only costs about 1 trillion. And providing basic education to all children is only 26 billion. This is for the world. Okay, why we have to give 2.6 trillion ringgit to those that are hunger for money, to the greedy people? Why can't we use it for this benefit? Okay, so in Malaysia also, there's a study by Transparency International Malaysia. Corruption has cost the country 4%. Okay, just now if you look at globally, it costs about 5% of the GDP. In Malaysia, is more or less the same, 4%, slightly lower. But still, it is about 46.9 billion ringgit per year. If you look at the data, the diagram that I have showed here, for the year of 2013 alone, we have wasted 46.9 billion to corruption. And imagine how this money, if you spend it for education, I think that would be great for the country. Okay, a little bit of background. After the PRU 14, the general election, 14 general election, the federal government of Malaysia has established the National Centre for Governance, Integrity and Anti-Corruption, which is called GIACC. And GIACC is under the PM's department. So after that, no, not after that, at the same time, the Cabinet Special Committee on Anti-Corruption, which is called JKKMAR, held its first meeting, replacing the Special Cabinet Committee on Government Management Competency. And this JKKMR is still holding its meeting, if I'm not mistaken, is once in 2 months, addressing issues relating to corruption, governance, and integrity. And this meeting is chaired by the Prime Minister, starting with the first, after the GA, the general election, 14 general election, chaired by Tun Mahathir, and now it is chaired by Tan Sri Muhyiddin. On the 21st September 2018, the Cabinet Special Committee on Anti-Corruption, chaired by the Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, decided to place the Malaysian Institute of Integrity under GIACC as an agency to develop the competency and capacity amongst the public and private sector on integrity. Okay, this time it's not about preaching, because I think gone were the days with preaching. We cannot preach anymore because it does not really work well. So we have to do something. We have to use tools. We have to use instruments. Okay, so on the sorry on the 29th of January 2019, the Prime Minister then has launched this National Anti-Corruption Plan. And this National Anti-Corruption Plan is a 5-year plan with a vision of the nation. Hopefully, we can meet this vision towards a corrupt-free nation. And the national aspiration stated in the plan is for Malaysia to be known for her integrity and not corruption. So, ladies and gentlemen, is this not possible to meet the aspiration and the vision of all the rakyat of Malaysia? To me, it is easy. But the responsibility, actually, it falls on all of us as the rakyat, whether you are the CEO or you are the public servants or as parents, we all hold responsibilities to make the National Anti-Corruption Plan happen. This is our plan. This is not the government's plan alone, but it is all of us that will ensure that the plan will be met. Okay, in the plan, they have already prioritized 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 areas, because these are the 6 areas that are very prone to corruption. One is the political governance, 2 is the public sector administration, 3 is the public procurement, 4 is legal and judicial, 5 is law enforcement, and lastly is the corporate governance. So all of these priority areas has its initiatives. So before that, all has its strategies, and from the strategies they come up with the initiatives. So political governance, they have the most initiatives, and you know why it is so. For public sector, about 31 initiatives, public procurement about 16, legal, judicial about 6, law enforcement 17, and corporate governance 10. And I'm sure all of us here are from the corporate governance side. So I'll be focusing on the initiative that is relating to corporate governance. Okay, what is most important? Personally, I would say this plan is excellent. As we all know, we are good, very good in planning. But what worries us, or what worries me, is the implementation. Is the implementation going to have an impact? You can implement, but it is not effective. So to date, I was informed that out of the 115 initiatives in the NACP, about 29 of them has been completed. Okay, and that is only completed. Whether it is effective or not, it is another question. So out of 115, only 21 has been completed. We have about 3 more years to go. So I think if we are driving, we have to put on gear 5 or gear 6. We cannot slow on gear 1 or gear 2 anymore to ensure that all these initiatives can be implemented effectively. Okay, let me just touch on the initiatives that is relating to managing risk, because the topic of my presentation is on how to manage corruption risk. Okay, in the NACP, there are initiatives relating to managing corruption risk. And one is they talk about organization, establishing organizational anti-corruption plan. And two, it also mentioned about implementing anti-bribery management systems. So for those that has not yet read the National Anti-Corruption Plan, please get hold of the plan. You can access it via the GIACC website. You can download it, and I like to print it out so that I can highlight and so on. And the NACP initiatives relating to ABMS is under initiative 2.1.3 relating to the public sector, and initiative 6.2.4 is relating to the private sector, the corporate body. Okay, under the initiative 2.1.3, it says to introduce anti-bribery management system, MEMS ISO 37001 certification in all government agencies. Okay, now to introduce. The word here introduce is also something that maybe I also need a little bit of clarification there. But as I would say, if I am the leader of an agency, I would interpret it, although it's introducing, meaning that you have to implement it and you have to implement it effectively. Because at the end of the day, uh, the purpose is for us to prevent corruption in the government agencies. Initiative 6.2.4, this is more specific for the corporate bodies to propose anti-bribery management system MSISO 37001 certification as a requirement for state-owned enterprise, company limited by guarantee, and private sector in order to bid for government contract. So it is an indirect saying that you must implement anti-bribery management system, because if you are to bid for a government contract, you have to show that you have already certified to this MS ISO 37001. But at the moment, as far as I know, this requirement this requirement that they have to bid they have to have this ISO 37001 certification in order to bid for government contract is not there yet. Okay. All right. Okay, now I move on to the organizational anti-corruption plan. Maybe some of you have never heard about it. This is like national anti-corruption plan, but at an organizational level. Okay, so initiative 2.1, it says that it is mandatory for the public sector to develop an organizational anti-corruption plan. This is like a strategic plan for the organization relating to anti-corruption. And Initiative 6.2.1, it says mandatory for statutory body, state-owned enterprise, company limited by guarantee, and private sector to develop OACP. Remember, the word here is mandatory. That means you have to do that. Okay? All right. Now, we move on to risk management. I'm sure some of you are already risk manager, risk management experts, and so on and so forth. But for those who have not, who doesn't understand what risk management is, let me just quote this from James Lamb, it says that the only alternative to risk management is crisis management. And crisis management is much more expensive, time consuming, and embarrassing. So, like COVID-19, we are in crisis. Now we are managing the crisis. So it has already happened and it costs a lot. It's expensive, time consuming. Well, to some of us, it's quite embarrassing. So there's no alternative to risk management. But when it happened, then you have to face the music. Okay, another quote, without good risk management practices, government cannot manage its resources effectively. It's very true. Risk management means more than preparing for the worst. It also means taking advantage of opportunities to improve services or lower costs. So when you do risk management, it's not only you manage the risk, but at the same time, when you manage the risk, you can see that there are a lot of opportunities for your business. Okay, so I'm going back to the basic. Okay, the classical definition of risk is a combination of probability and consequences, because when you want to evaluate the ranking of the risk, you will use metrics, probability, and consequences. Okay, normally is, I would say universally is like that. Uh, the ISO definition, ISO means the International Organization for Standardization. The definition is the effect of uncertainty on objectives. And what does it mean? I will explain later. Because at the end of the day, you have an objective and you want to meet that objective. So you have to identify what could be the potential issues or problems that can make you not able to achieve the objectives. This is what we call risk management. Okay, all right. According to the Malaysian Code of Corporate Governance, MCCG 2017, that was published by the Securities Commission Malaysia, um, in there, it also stated about risk management. Under that, there are three principles of Malaysian Code of Corporate Governance. One is board leadership and effectiveness. Secondly is effective audit and risk management. Thirdly is integrity in corporate reporting and meaningful relationship with stakeholders. Okay, please pay attention to number two, because we always forgot about the risk management part. When we hold the mesyuarat lembaga pengarah, we only focus on audit. Audit and risk are equally important, especially for the board of directors. Okay, now, risk management versus crisis management. Both are equally important. I'm not saying that risk management is more important than crisis management, because accident or incident do happen. When accident happen or incident happen, you need crisis management. But before it happen, you can reduce the probability or the chances that it happen using risk management. So you won't be too tired, okay, firefighting. Okay, that is what it means. Crisis management is responding to, managing, and recovering from an unforeseen event. It has happened, then what should we do? We have to do something, all right? We cannot be panic. Risk management is managing the risk before the event happened in order to meet the objectives. Now, I'm coming to what is enterprise risk management. Okay, I have to go back from the fundamental, because this is a quite a technical topic that I'm going to talk about. All right, enterprise. Enterprise is how I would say the enterprise is business. Okay, it's easy to imagine. It is a business risk management. When you talk about enterprise, it's everything, any risk that will have an impact to the business or to the enterprise. So, corruption is one of them. So, corruption is part of enterprise risk management. So, enterprise risk management is a rigorous and coordinated approach to assess and respond to all risks before it happened. This is something that has not yet happened, that affect the achievement of an organization's strategic and financial objectives. So it tallies with the definition of risk just now that I showed in my slide. And according to the Fundamental of Risk Management, Paul Hopkins' book, a broader approach to the practice of risk management, it looks at all the risks that it faces across all of the operations that it takes. It can be safety risk, it can be environmental risk, it can be financial risk, legal risk, corruption risk, and many, many more. Okay, why an organization need to apply risk management? It's for business sustainability, because we don't know what's going to happen if we don't know what is going to happen in the future, what are the possibilities potential to happen that will that will prevent us from meeting our business objectives, then it's bad. So for business sustainability, it's very, very important that organization must have a good risk management. So business sustainability, also known as corporate sustainability, is the management and coordination of environmental, social, and financial demands and concerns to ensure responsible, ethical, and ongoing success of the organization. Okay. Why we need to manage risk? So this is a more simpler diagram that I put in place. At the end of the day, any business or as a person also, we have our objective. So we must know what could be the risk that may hinder us from achieving the objectives. So that's why we need to manage the risk, make the risk as low as possible, okay? Or you eliminate this risk so that you can achieve. You don't have the risk, then you can easily achieve the objectives. That's a very, very simple and layman explanation of managing risk or risk management. Okay, so in the process, you have to identify what are the issues facing the organization. You can use SWOT analysis, PASTEL, and there are many, many tools available. And then you have to assess the risk. Risk assessment means you identify the risk, you analyze the risk, and also you evaluate the risk. Then you have to treat the risk, and then you have to monitor and review, and in order to achieve the objectives. Okay. Now, I have to skip some of my slides because I can see the time is, I only have a few more minutes to cover everything. Okay, this is a very simple risk assessment register that you can, after this I can share with all of you my slides. And if you need some more explanation, please feel free. You can come to the Institute of Integrity Malaysia located in KL. Okay, we can also explain to you. These are actually to do risk assessment is very, very simple. Okay, you know your activities, you have to identify the risk for each activity, and then you have to evaluate whether it's high, low, medium, and come out with the existing control, come up with the mitigation action if the risk is high. Okay, I'll skip this. I need to know to show you what is global risk. But I think because time is too short, I have to skip some of these slides. Okay, I will go straight to the 37,001. Okay, I cannot talk very detailed on ISO 37,000 requirements within this very short period of webinar allocated to me. But this ISO 37,001 is actually, okay, could be used as adequate procedure, could be used as a reference to establish the adequate procedures under the section 17A. Okay. All right. It is designed to instill an anti-bribery culture within an organization. It's not just having documentation. Actually, the requirement under the anti-bribery management system is for the top management to establish the anti-bribery culture. How to do that? Please get hold of the standard ISO 37001 and read line by line. It is very, very descriptive. It explains everything in there. I think as a layman, you can understand the wordings that is put in there. Okay, so a lot of us have the conception that this ABMS, according to 37001, is difficult to implement. Believe me, it's not difficult. You cannot say it's difficult until you read the standard, because people will say it's difficult because it's just an international standard. It doesn't mean that if it is an international standard, it is difficult. Believe me that the more it become an international standard, the more it is not difficult. Okay, it is more stringent if it is a industry standard or a national standard. When it comes to international standard, because everybody will have their own ideas, at the end of the day, the standards become less stringent and much easier and much more generic. It is designed to prevent, identify, detect, and respond to bribery and comply with laws, regulations, and other voluntary commitment. Okay, right. This is the most important part. It's a bit small, the slide, but it explains everything in the standard. First, the organization has to establish anti-bribery policy. Okay, people got confused. Policy and procedures. Policy doesn't have who, what, when, where, how. How is the most important part. But in the standard, it says procedure. The only part that they say policy is the anti-bribery policy, which is a commitment statement. It's just a one statement like aku janji, all right? Like CIP, ya, corporate integrity pledge. Okay, we are committed to prevent corruption, blah 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 blah, and signed by the board, the chairman of the board of directors. Okay, the good thing about ISO 37001 is that it talks about the role and accountability of the governing body, not only the top management. So the governing body has to approve this anti-bribery policy. So this is the head. Without this anti-bribery policy, without this commitment from the very top management, the board of directors, you can't do anything. Even though you have a strong, what do you call it, integrity department. Okay, so you have to have this very high level commitment first. And this is one of the requirements inside the ISO 37001. It's simple. It's simple. It's not difficult. And I don't understand when people say it's expensive. If you go to consultant and you go to the, I would say, wrong consultant, of course it will cost you 100,000, 50,000, even IIM also. I'm trying to tell them, please lower and lower your costs as much possible. At least you just break even and as a little bit of profit, because we have to survive on our own. But not making money excessively from the consultation or training relating to ISO 37001 just because it is the hot stuff of today. Okay, now the rest, okay, you have the awareness and training, and in the training it describes one by one the requirements, such as you have to do due diligence for positions that are very highly prone to corruption. So it is very detailed. So if you read the standard, it will guide you. And perhaps for those who are familiar with management system, you don't need consultants. You can do it on your own. Okay, because we can't be helping everybody. We can advise, give help. We would be very happy if you can do it on your own. Okay, so this is a plan, do, check, act process whereby you have the planning. You need to do the risk assessment. Okay, you have to know what are your risks, and you have to know what the action that you need to take to reduce the risk. And then you have the procedures. You need to come up with the procedures of give. Just now people talk about give or no give procedure. Actually, if you ask me personally, it should be give procedure, because there's no way that you can have no give at all procedure considering our culture and so on. But in your give procedure, it must be stated there how much the maximum, and you have to record it if you get any gift or you give anything to other people, and then how often you got the gift or you give the gift. So it has to be very transparent. So integrity is about transparency. Okay. All right. Then I have to move very fast. If you look at trust, okay, the requirement of trust is exactly the same like ISO 37001, whereby you have the top level commitment, you have the training, you have the risk assessment. And if you look at CISM, Corporate Integrity System Malaysia, it's the same thing, talking about leadership, talking about the policy, the risk management, training, performance evaluation. All these are the same. They are all uh, references that you can use to establish the system of anti-corruption management in your organization. Okay, so success story, there are only 60 organizations so far that has been certified to ABMS. Maybe some of them did not go for certification. It's okay. You can just implement the system without certification. It's okay. Um, so I move very fast on this study because I want to show you that people are talking about ABMS without knowing the standard, without implementing it. This study we have conducted for 8 organizations that has implemented the system for over 3 years period. So we assess objective 1 to identify the issues and challenges that they are facing in implementing the ABMS for the past 3 years. And then we evaluate their organizational performance in terms of cost saving, number of cases, complaints, and to their reputation, and then assess the efficiency of the organization governance. And we have a quantitative and qualitative survey, online survey, and then we have semi-structured interviews to the employees, and the online surveys are to the business associates. Okay, what we found out is that 100% of those that we interviewed said the system is effective to prevent corruption. So for those that has not yet implemented it and say that the system is not effective, please stop saying so until you implement it. Okay. In terms of the organizational performance, 75% that they can save cost to the organization by implementing this anti-corruption management system. And then 50% said that the number of reported cases has increased. So this explains on some of the organization that has been certified, and you can see in the newspaper that more and more of that organization more and more of the employees of the organization are being caught by PRM. Okay, and 100% said that the organization has improved its reputation in terms of anti-corruption. And the more interesting part is about culture. 77% said the organization has improved its work culture with regards to integrity, governance, and anti-corruption. And 100% said that they have a good leaders that are committed to prevent corruption. And this is the data analysis. This is on the quantitative study. Overall reputation of the agencies. 82% say that I admire this organization, and I'm proud to be associated with this organization. I trust this organization. I respected this organization. Most of them are above 80%. And in terms of effectiveness of the ABMS implementation, overall, the implementation of the ABMS is effective to prevent the organization from any bribery or corruption acts. 80% of the respondents said that this organization has successfully attracted potential investors due to the implementation of ABMS, 81%. So if people say that without corruption, no business, that's wrong. Okay. And this will be my last slide. If you want to build the culture of integrity, high governance, and anti-corruption in the organization, first, the attitude must be right. Every people, I would say, with the belief that what is wrong, what is right. But when it comes to the behavior, the individual action towards the belief, this is where sometimes it is not as per their belief. Okay, so you can only build a culture in your organization when the same belief and actions among all the members in your organization, when you have the same belief and action. But belief only, it is not a culture. So conclusion, manage the risk of corruption using the readily available guidelines and standards as reference, such as ISO 37001 or the trust guideline for adequate procedures or CISM. You can use any of these guidelines or standards. The role of governing body and top management is very crucial in managing the risk of corruption to build the culture of integrity and free from corruption. So ladies and gentlemen, I think that will be the end of my slides, and thank you very much for your attention.
Hi. Hi. So thank you, Puan Nor'afiza, for her interesting and informative sharing on the anti-corruption mechanism that is available to us. So we will now move on to the Q&A session with Puan Nor'afiza. So the first question is, can internal audit perform the task of integrity and governance unit?
Okay, all right. This is quite a technical question, and this is a good question. You must understand the role of internal audit, and the normally we have this what you call it, a piagam audit, yeah, piagam audit, whereby auditors, internal auditors, they have to be independent. They have to be independent, and they are reporting directly to the board of directors normally. Okay, they don't even report to the CEO. Okay, so the CEO only they only report administratively to the CEO, like their claims and so on and so forth, because of this independency. So you can't put better not put internal audit role together with the role of what is it just now, looking after the governance, integrity, and anti-corruption.
Okay, thank you, Puan. So the next question is, what is the main thing, the must-do thing to do to avoid a company from Section 17A?
Okay, the must do thing, there's no one thing. You, when you want to implement, okay, you have to as a defense, you have to have adequate procedures. Okay, adequate procedures is not just procedure, it's not just procedure. You have SOP, that's enough. There's no such thing. Even ISO 37001 cannot guarantee, okay, you from this section 17A, because it depends on the judge, okay, to what extent that you have implemented the system according to ISO 37001. Okay, you can't blame ISO 37001. Let's say if, even though you have the system according based on ISO 37001, but when you implement it, you are not implement it effectively. Your effort is just for the sake maybe to get the certification. Okay, the effort must be, as I said previously, is to prevent corruption. So your effort is to achieve the objective of the organization. Okay, what's the objective of the organization? That should be your aim, not to get certified to ISO 37001. So to establish the system, what you must do, okay, the key thing that you must do, please go back to the standard ISO 37001, or go back to the guidelines. Okay, what you need to do, and you have to start from now. If you don't have anything yet at the moment, please, the most important thing, come out with the anti corruption policy first. It's like an aku janji, the commitment from the organization. You must, that will be your what is it, your rujukan, your reference, okay, that the organization is committed to prevent corruption, no corruption. Uh, People can whistleblow freely. They won't be taken action if they whistleblow. Uh, the organization is committed to comply with the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Act. So these are the commitment that the organization must have first. If you cannot come out with this commitment, then don't worry about establishing the system. Okay, so this commitment comes from the very top management, the governing body, the top management, as well as the whole organization.
Thank you, Puan. The next question is, how do a company know their system in place is sufficient?
Okay, the company. Um, as a CEO, okay, as the CEO, you know, you know whether what went wrong with the system, because you will have to review the system at the end of the day, because it's a plan, do, check, act. Okay, as a CEO, you have to check, you have to review whether the system is in place or not in place. Okay, you have to build the culture. So you can't say that I don't know whether the system implemented is okay or not okay. Okay, and you have the auditors, you have the information from the internal audits, or whoever audit your organization, and you have to understand what are the findings. Okay, what is lacking in the management system. So coming back to the question, can I look at the question again? um,
The question is, how
how
do a
how do a
company?
company knows their system is in place, is sufficient? It's like, when people said that, I don't know, until I don't know what is happening to my organization. So I don't think we should ask this question in the first place if you are the CEO or you are the board of directors, because you have the risk department, enterprise risk management system, enterprise risk management. You have the internal audit, the external audit. You have the everybody is there. So you can't say that I don't know what's happening, and I don't know to what extent that my system is it effective or not effective.
Okay. So the next question that we have is, what is the specific minimum standard or threshold of each element of adequate procedures, aka the trust?
Okay. All right. Trust is actually more on, if you read the guidelines, it's more on principles. Okay. You should have this. But if you want more description, okay, what does it mean? I would recommend you to read the ISO 37001, MS ISO 37001, because it explains better in MS ISO 37001. Where you can get this ISO 37001, you can get it from the Department of Standards Malaysia. You can purchase it from the Department of Standards Malaysia. You can go to their website. Okay, coming back to the question, can I, yeah, specific minimum standard. When you talk about management system, there's no such thing as minimum standard. Whatever is stated there, like the leadership, the training awareness, the monitoring management, those are the requirements. Those are the minimum standards. You like it, you don't like it, you have to have that. Otherwise, if you take out one of the elements from that standards or that guidelines, there will be a breakdown in your management system.
Okay. So the next question is, what is the clear line of accountability between the management and employee pursuant to?
Okay, I think this
Okay.
this one is best answered by Mr. Jaya
Okay.
just now.
Okay.
I won't answer this question. I can answer, but I don't think I'm the appropriate person to answer. Maybe we can pass this question to him, because he said he will answer any
Yes.
questions that is relating to the 17A. Okay.
Yes, sure. So actually, we have some other question. Can open the Q&A. Okay, actually, I have one here.
Mm-mm.
So, Puan, is it a mandatory requirement for organization to have corruption risk management plan?
Corruption risk management plan. I think the wording there is a little bit not so good. Uh, okay, when you want to establish a risk management, corruption risk management, actually ABMS, anti-bribery management system, is a corruption risk management. Okay, there's a difference between corruption risk management and corruption risk assessment. I have one slide just now, but I because due to time I cannot show it. Okay, corruption risk assessment is part of corruption risk management. When you say management, it is a complete cycle from establishing the policy, and you do risk assessment, you do operation, you operate the SOPs, the procedures, and then you monitor and measure, you review, you audit. It's a complete cycle. But risk assessment is just you identify the risk, you analyze the risk, and you evaluate the risk. Because if you want to establish complete risk management, you must first do corruption risk assessment. You must identify what are the risks in your organization. It comes from which activity, whether the risk is high or low or medium or intangible. Okay, from there only you establish the whole management system. Okay, so I have a lot to explain here, but due to time constraint, I think it's better if you need more explanation on this, you can come and see me in IIM.
Okay, maybe we can have one last question from Mr. Shazli Musa. So, Section 17A applies to all organizations, be it the public listed companies or SME. Implementation of ISO 33001 2016 is a viable option for large organizations, but it is also not cost effective for the SME. Thus, the Initiative 6.2.4 of the NACP will not be easy to be implemented. What is your opinion on this?
Okay, yeah, I know this is a, I would say this is a misconception. Um, Actually, ISO 37001 or anti-bribery management system is a good management system. Okay, if you are a small organization, okay, if say it is expensive for large organization because they are large, they have many subsidiaries under them. Okay, that's why they have the cost is quite high when you want to first engage, let's say, for a consultant, because the consultant will look at how many employees you have in the organization, how many subsidiaries you have. But if you're a small organization, okay, the system will be very simple. If you have like five person in your organization, SMEs, for example, okay, you can do it on your own. Establish an anti-bribery policy. You can Google. Okay, how do people establish a anti-corruption policy? Okay, 5 minutes, you can come up with it. Okay, and then how do I come up with the gift policy? For example, whistleblowing policy. You can Google and you can just come up with your own simple SOP. In fact, you don't need a consultant. But first thing, you must read the standards first. What are the requirements? Some of the requirements doesn't applicable to you, so you don't have to follow it. So this is where the judgment by the people that ISO 37001 is expensive because they see big organization implement it, they have to spend quite a sum of money. But if you're a small organization, actually, to be honest, sometimes you don't have to even keluarkan money to establish the system, because you can come up with a very simple system, but based on ISO 37001. It's not impossible.
Hello. Okay, thank you very much, Puan, for answering all the questions and for this very insightful presentation. And they are very informative. I think it is very beneficial to all our participants. So once again, I would like to thank you, Puan Nor'afiza, to be here with us in the studio and to contribute her time to present to everyone. So thank you, Puan.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you.